All right, everyone, now it's time to talk about CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency. It's currently being test piloted in Japan, actually the Netherlands too. There have been protests about it the other day. And in some other countries, Russia is actually testing out the basic concept. Now, the concept is that instead of having paper money, you transition in a system where it's all zeros and ones. So you have a central currency that's issued, but it's controlled electronically. Now, other than the technological hazards of this, the concentration of those zeros and ones in a more limited number of locations where they can be more easily potentially hacked, that could become a problem. The lack of transparency with which that currency will operate, probably worse than with fiat. The degrading value of it, the electrical requirements. Of course, the electricity goes out, and all of a sudden, your money's still there, maybe, but you can't do anything with it. You already have enough problems with people getting locked out of their banks for political reasons or because the government locks down because there's a money run or something. Just imagine how easy it will be for them to do that when they can have some computer nerd do it with a couple of lines of code and lock everyone out of the system. Well, you don't need your money we're going to introduce off-on days. You can only have your money on odd days of the week. Or something like that. It's possible, which is why we must oppose it and stop it at all hazards. Make sure that it doesn't work. Don't participate in any way. Basically, people are going to be lured in by convenience. So, hey, it's really convenient. I don't need to carry around my wallet at all. I have a couple of ID cards and stuff, and then everything else is completely digitized. All I do is, like in China, I just scan a picture of my face and I can buy whatever I want. I don't even need to touch anything. They'll probably dovetail it in, by the way, with epidemic medicine and say, well, if you don't have to actually touch anything, transmission of disease will be cut down significantly. Yes, have a cold, distant world in which you withdraw more and more from any interaction with other objects. Now go and get your soy, Jimmy. You've been a good boy today. Your ESG rating is high now, because you did so much good diversity volunteer work at the local BIPOC library at Agen. So you're allowed to get an extra cricket burger today for your extra protein. We're even going to allow you into the gym, Jimmy. Now, I know that we've tried to dissuade people from going there too because gym culture is hyper-masculine and unhelpful for our world takeover. Oh, I mean for your mental development. But we're going to allow you to go to the gym today for 10 minutes. You can see what a weight set looks like. CBDC is part of the same globalistic takeover plan as all the other woke-tard bullshit that's going on right now. Here's what it boils down to. If you control the money, it's way easier to control people. Right now, though, you can have fiat currency. You have a wad of Benji Greens. You go to the bank, the money originally is digital. You're trading it out for the paper money, and then it's your own. You've got it in hand. You can go to any store, you can use it, etc. What they'll try to do is lure people in with a very, very sophisticated pilot program, like the one that they'll introduce in Japan. It'll work mainly in urban areas, not so much in small-town America. Now, that will be coming 10 years from now. They'll be left behind by technology. We need more government investment to bring more cashless machines to rural America because it's such a great advent. And at some point, there'll be another Carrington event, and then all hell will break loose, and they'll say, we don't understand what we did wrong. Oh, my God. It's better to have the money in hand, like not even just cash. Having precious metals is always a good thing, etc., etc., etc. Also, with transactions, it'll be much easier for corporations, which fund and basically own elements of the government, to grift a little off the top. Well, we've got a 5% transaction fee here, above and beyond the sales tax that isn't going anywhere anyway. We've got a transactional fee. Don't worry, though. I mean, the transaction doesn't even have to be denominated in real cents because it can be a fraction of a cent, and it's just, it's documented over time. Now, also, I would ask this, what specific problem is solved by having a cashless society? Let's think pragmatically. We'll go past the fact that people are focusing on the so-called convenience of hands-free paying for things, which is really minor convenience, to the exclusion of focusing on the privacy issue, the pragmatism issue with regards to the need for a power source to actually have the money be available, corporate surveillance, the social credit score, etc., etc., etc. We'll look past that. What pragmatic issue is actually solved by this? So what specific problem, which is compelling, that needs to be addressed, is addressed by this? The only answer to that is that the government considers cryptocurrency to be a problem. They consider digital transactions that aren't centrally controlled by them to be an issue. The fact that crypto exists and is still there and is still exchanged, including by banks, rankles the government. This goes back to a story I covered years ago when Mark Zuckerberg was planning to introduce a super cryptocurrency that would have basically been similar to this. And he had a massive number of major corporations on board. The total investment could have been well into the hundreds of billions of dollars. He would have fired himself way out ahead of all of the Bill Gates and stuff. They would have been left in the dust. What did the U.S. government immediately do? They immediately told him, "That's not a good idea, Mr. Zuckerberg. We would urge you to think otherwise." Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You wouldn't want the SEC to investigate your up-and-coming Meta or anything like that. Well, at the time it was still just Facebook and Insta. You wouldn't want us to look into the tax returns. You wouldn't want us to pass a law that disproportionately affects your company as opposed to your competitors now, would you? You wouldn't like us to use the iron jackboot of government to fuck with the people investing with you. And then half the investors immediately left because they smelled the smoke and they figured, well, the fire's coming. I better get out of this forest. And then the plan fell flat. And at the time, I said that's not because they don't like Zuckerberg. And it's certainly not because they don't like Kellogg's and all the other companies that were partnered with Facebook on this prototypical idea. It's because they wanted to do it themselves. It's not enough to have the people who are partnered with and own chunks of the government controlling it in a less centralized fashion, because then you can get competitors. The government has to establish it as a monopoly singularly. And then the corporations can buy in, which they will because they control half of Congress. That's what they wanted to do because it gives them more authoritarian control. There's no middleman, in other words. The middlemen have become subjugate employees of that same system. So the government will attempt to implement this. It will put all sorts of bells and whistles on it. You'll see a bunch of legacy media pieces about what a great idea a cashless society is. And they will all ignore the attendant problems that will come in order to get you, the consumer, to focus on the convenience of not having to carry around a wad of actual money. Just live in the pod. Don't worry, you don't even have to, there's no doorknob on the pod. All you have to do is have a high enough social credit score and you can get your own jumbo pod. It's got 2 rooms, so it's pretty great, right? It's double the size. And you just, you wave your Apple device at the door and it lets you in. Of course, it'll also let in government officials if they want to come in. They won't have to jigger around with a key or anything like that. They won't have to kick in your door. You won't be able to lock it, basically. This is the future of globalism if we don't stop it. What we need is a return to volkish ways. Get rid of as much of the technology as you can that you're not actually using for proactive reasons. Yes, buy things in cash or with an old school debit card or something like that. Avoid reliance on the corporate structure. Starve the machine. Something that the leftoids used to champion. They've completely flipped their lid now, and they're very glad when they go to Starbucks that the tip for the barista is already included with their Apple product. So it's really, really great for them. That's about all. Peace out.